So I'm really glad that a lot of people found enjoyment in my great manga you've never heard of video, and I know it's been a while, but volume 2 is about to go into production. But before I begin that video, I wanted to share the spotlight with some really awesome webcomics. Now look, I know I make a lot of these list videos, and there's a reason for that. I often make comic rec videos for two reasons: as fun filler content while I work on bigger projects, and to introduce you all to more great reads. But I like to think that these great comic and manga videos are different. It doesn't mean anything you may see in this video or any other smaller filler videos should have less priority on your reading list. I make these videos for the enjoyment of myself and others and recommend them all dearly. I like to think the main difference between this video and others like my comics I would like to see adapted video is the amount of time that goes into them. I don't allow just any comics to be featured in these videos. I filter out and even consult friends as to what belongs here. I genuinely believe that what you're about to see in this video is well worth your time and wish you would give them a read and enjoy them as much as I do. Did I just let my slight bias show and contradicted my statement of recommending all comics equally? Well, yeah, I did, because to be honest, I do slightly recommend some of the upcoming comics a slight bit more than say They Say I Was Born a King's Daughter. But at the end of the day, my opinion doesn't matter. What matters is your taste and enjoyment of whatever you see featured in this video. Now that I've gotten some housekeeping out of the way, I just wanted to take a brief moment to express my deep love and admiration for webcomics. The wonderful thing I adore about webcomics is their independence. Most are made by a single person or a small team to bring a story they've had bottled up inside of them to life and give it a home on the internet. While some may gain enough traction to acquire the backing of publishing companies, most of them are free to read to whoever comes across them, and their books are self-published by the authors thanks to the help of fans. Creating a webcomic takes a lot of time, dedication, and money to be your own small studio and to keep that passion project afloat. Platforms like Subscribestar and Ko-fi are a godsend for indie artists who want to make a living doing what they love without being sidetracked by real life. You can show your support by buying a physical copy of the comic, supporting the Kickstarter, or just reading and commenting your love for the artist's work. In this video, I searched for webcomics that aren't on major hosting sites like Webtoons, Tapas, and others. These comics are supported on their own websites or are hosted on alternative platforms like Hiveworks and come from artists who are able to create with the help of wonderful supporters like you. However, I will be excluding comics with major followings like Homestuck or Let's Play. That's not to say that these artists aren't deserving of the same amount of support. It's just too predictable and boring to include something everyone is reading, then mining for a solid diamond, and I have to keep things interesting and hold your attention. And hopefully I do that well enough for you to consider reading one of these picks and finding something you enjoy, and maybe you'll throw a buck or two at it or just keep up with the artist's work. Whatever it may be, whatever you may find, please sit back and relax while I introduce you to 5 great webcomics that deserve your support. I recently started reading my first pick after 2 years of knowing of its existence, thanks to Riser from the webcomic Relief and my Twitter homie Cloudy screaming its high praises to the heavens. And oh my god, I'm so sorry to everyone for not reading this comic sooner. Anarchy Dreamers by Emily Ree is just as good as everyone says it is. It's comments like this that make me feel great shame for not listening to the majority when they say that this shit is good. No, I haven't started Blind Springs and I've only recently begun Ava's Demon. I'm sorry, please give me time. I'm trying to be better, I swear. And yes, this comic is the exception to the no huge comics rule because I always have an exception in every video, so let me have this. Anarchy Dreamers is an urban fantasy story chronicling the story of a group of friends who were victims of a senseless school shooting. Each of our main characters have died, but in their world, death means a second chance, and a second chance includes both amazing powers and your worst nightmare. A year after the shooting, Tabby and her friends are still trying to piece their lives back together. Resurrection comes with the price of losing precious memories and even basic abilities like reading. Yet the group stays strongly connected, and in between relationships, school, work, and home lives, this team shares a secret. Nightmares plague the reborn. Physical and mental harm threatens those caught in its dark web, and the bystanders who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Those trained or are training to handle these monsters do nothing, even when the nightmare is right outside their own window. And our heroes are sick of it, so much so that they risk expulsion by facing the nightmares and saving their peers head on. They soon garner the attention of the God of Dreams, who promises them rewards for defeating nightmares. But even before their extraordinary meeting, this team has always fought with one goal in mind: no more victims. Anarchy Dreamers is a very passionate and loving comic. From issue 1, you can feel the amount of effort that went into bringing this story to life. Character designs are unique, defining, and very cosplayable. I mean, you can't see it, but mwah, chef's kiss. The world building and lore is captivating. The pastel gothic aesthetic of modern New York City is absorbing. Seriously, this is some of the best artwork I've ever seen in a webcomic, and I'm not sorry, but the God of Dreams is just adorable. But what makes me adore this comic are the characters. I've grown a distaste for stories featuring young adults after years of shitty YA books and shows featuring petty and immature drama that won't matter in a month. The cast of Anarchy Dreamers is what makes this comic so special to me. Every character is well thought out and defined, with interests, flaws, strengths, and a strong bond holding them all together. Emily found a way to tap into these young adults and make them feel like real people, not that annoying "how do you do fellow kids" bullshit that makes me hate YA so much. I really genuinely love these brave friends. More than once my heart broke for them because their lives were destroyed by violence. And even though they're still alive with cool superpowers, that doesn't compare to what was taken away from them. They want to continue to follow their passions. They want to rebuild their lives. They want to have fun and goof off, but they want to be normal again. But normal is difficult to obtain when those in power won't help you or your peers who are still traumatized by the horrors of death. So why continue to sit on your ass all day when you have a dope group of friends who love you, with powers and the heart to help others who have what you can't? The nightmares won't go away, but if you can help others find the strength you have, then a better world may not be too far off. I've only read 4 issues of Anarchy Dreamers, and I cannot wait to dive into the rest of the comic along with the spin-offs. Emily puts a lot of work into this project, and I would love to throw a few bucks at her way and at her store for the art book when I'm able to. I highly recommend Anarchy Dreamers as a comic for everyone, and to check out Emily's social, store, Patreon, and future Kickstarters if you have the chance. Trust me, this comic kicks fucking ass, and you're in for a hell of a time. We Live in an MMO by Randowiz is exactly what it sounds like. Rando and his friends form a group of adventurers and inhabit a village populated by NPCs that they promise to protect. They also embark on the usual MMO activities, going on quests, leveling up, and not pissing off the guards. Then all of that falls apart. It starts with an NPC going missing, then a group of dickhead players comes along and threatens the people they swore to protect. Then, well, you're just going to have to read the rest to find out what happens next. And yes, this is the second comic in a row that I found out through Riser. How could you tell? The word that comes to mind to describe We Live in an MMO is hyper. This is a gut-busting comic. In fact, it's one of the funniest comics I've ever read. Yes, I found this comic to be more funny than House Husband, and I started reading MMO last year. The comedy in this comic is no short of amazing to me. Rando knows how to make you laugh. Every joke has a setup, and the punchline is gloriously rewarding. A large reason for this are the reactions. The art itself is already amazing to look at, but the pages bleed with energy. The way these characters move, pose, and are exaggerated is weighted with comedic gold. But MMO knows when to slow down and take itself seriously. These moments do more than grab your attention. They trap you. You are completely engrossed and unable to look away because maybe you should read one more chapter. After all, you're deep in this story and it's only chapter 4. You're falling for these characters. You want to know, you need to find out what happens to this dumbass group next, because they may be dumbasses, but they're your dumbasses, and you want to see them succeed and go on the next adventure. Rando only updates this comic when he completes the next chapter, and I think that's fantastic. Who cares when you have to wait 8 months for a new update when you know it's going to be quality? And while you're waiting, Rando regularly posts his amazing artwork, from posters to animation to just as hilarious comic scripts. Of course, you can access these faster by donating to him, but you can also follow his social and support his official website. Please support We Live in an MMO. It is one of, if not my favorite comedy comics, and I hope that you enjoy this comic just as much as I do. Dean is a young man who often gets into trouble. A half-fake can't be trusted to sit still after all, so technically it's your fault for trusting him to sit and watch the cows. Besides being unable to perform his duties, Dean's peaceful village life also consists of wondering who he is and where he came from. Despite being adopted into a loving family, Dean has always been considered an outsider among his village, and the only person who understands him outside of his village is Lieutenant Murno, a nobleman and demon hunter. But Dean still desires answers, a taste of belonging, to fit in and find his place in a world that treats him like a foreigner. One day, Dean learns to be careful for what he wishes for. As he and his sister Malene visits the city to sell their goods at the market, it's the day of the social eclipse, and with it, a festival. As the people bow their heads and close their eyes to pray, when Dean opens his again, he sees fire, blood, and death. Dean is quickly rushed away from the chaos, his sister, and is safely taken to the home of a noble while the guards fight bravely outside. He waits, and soon Murno returns. While Murno gets his wounds treated, Dean is owed an explanation. That explanation? A welcome home. Dragon Sanctuary is the newer comic featured in this video, having begun in 2018 and currently sitting pretty with over 180 pages at the time of this recording. It's also one of the more laid-back comics featured in this video. If you don't want the urban fantasy of Anarchy Dreamers or the hyper gamer humor of We Live in an MMO, then this fantasy series may be what you're looking for. Dragon Sanctuary is an enjoyable series that I savor my time with as it's so short. I enjoy Dean because he's cute and charming with a cute and charming look and personality. I enjoy Murno and his family for their sarcasm and the genuine care shown towards Dean and the people they protect. I enjoy this comic's art and the world Dean inhabits, and Dean's learning curve from being a farm boy to a nobleman. Dean is the driving force of this comic and makes you want to read more because he's just so sweet. I'm not often into stories with his character, the ones trying to figure themselves out and what to do, but instead of coming of age, Dean is coming into his identity. He's learning his duty as a member of a noble family while also trying to stay connected to his roots as a farm boy. Moments like him saying the mansion is too big and escaping to the servants' quarters, learning more about Murno and the sacrifices he made, and eventually coming into a role far more important than watching cows feel genuine for a character like him. This definitely isn't the best story I've read that deals with this subject in this setting, but I really want more of it. I want more of Dean and his love for his family and willingness to help his long lost ones. Yes, I want to learn more about the world he inhabits, the magic he possesses, and the cultists that try to kill him, but I really want to find out where this really cute and charming young man's story is going. And if that sounds like a pleasant time to you, then please give it a shot. Sometimes all you need is a quiet moment, a peaceful story containing characters and an atmosphere that possesses this calming effect that can only be found in comics like these. Slice of life will often contain this healing effect, but it can also be grounded in personal reality that helps us feel less alone. Ruru Ren is about a family of 3 that once contained a 4th. Ren resides in a small mountain village with her 2 sons, Ra and Ru. She's also a widow. Her husband died tragically in a hunting accident, and on the trip he brought Ru, who was also affected. Since then, Ru hasn't been the same. His mental state seems to have regressed, and he's no longer the talented brother Ra once knew. Ren does her best. She tries to maintain peace in their household, caring for her son in his new condition as he now requires more attention. She has to teach Ra that things aren't the same with his brother, and she's going to need his help too. Ren also recognizes that Ra is just as affected by his father's death and needs help finding love again in the things he once enjoyed. She does all of this while performing her job as a herbalist to support her family and continue to care for the village. I was immediately gripped by Ruru Ren, and I wanted to see more of this family's story. I wanted Ru to get better and recover from the accident, Ra to find happiness and love again, and most importantly, I wanted Ren to continue to be strong. When I read this comic, all I see is strength. Ren is definitely the strongest character in this story as she's thrust into widow and single motherhood after the tragic death of her husband. Even if the comic doesn't portray it, I can't help but see her tears as she raises 2 boys without her husband, utterly alone in their secluded home. Then there's Ra, who's still only a child, a boy without his father and now missing his brother. He's still adjusting to his new life, neither accepting nor denying it as he understands his brother's new mental state and his mother's challenges, but wishes to go back to normal. child before he lost his father and love for his brother and the things that he enjoyed. And then there's Rue, admittedly the least developed character in his story, but he doesn't have to have a huge arc. We instantly understand that he's a child with needs and require more attention, and that's okay. His need for extra care makes him a normal child, just like any other child. We just want for him to heal and become better, to grow up and find himself in the magic he no longer knows he has. And we want for him to be happy and live his life in happiness, which he already is due to his wonderful mother and brother, but we still wish for him to return to the boy he once was. Not completely, but somewhat. So it's safe to say that I loved this story. It warmed my heart just as much as it broke it in all the right places. I love the characters, the art, the culture, and lore, but sadly, this comic hasn't updated since 2019. In October, it will be 1 year since the comic's last post. But I really want people to read this because I think this comic is just so sweet and loving, and it hurts my heart, but it also makes it so warm. Please, please, please read Ruru Ren. Please check out the artists in their store because their work is so beautiful and amazing to look at. I really hope that Ruru Ren comes back, but until then, I'll be constantly refreshing the page and awaiting its return. So that's it. I hope you found some enjoyment in this video and will read one of the comics shown. While you're doing that, I'll get to work on volume 2 of great manga while you're binging their next favorite read. And if you like this video, then yes, there will be a volume 2, but I have to finish great manga first. Until then, my name is Ari, and I'll see you in the next one.